I just want to start off this video by apologising if you can hear something in my voice. I've been sick for days now, but I just really want to get this video recorded, so yeah, let's continue. In the early and mid-90s, the Wu-Tang Clan took the world by storm, a new lease of life into hip-hop, the group with all the character in the world, releasing classics back to back to back to back. They planted their flag right at the very top of the hip-hop mountain, but in the late 90s they hit a crossroads. The second round of solo Wu albums disappointing both commercially and in terms of critical acclaim. Things look bleak as audiences turn their attention to new acts like Jay-Z, Eminem, DMX. The Wu's reign was coming to a premature end. Then stepped forward the one and only Tony Starks.
We at the weed gate waiting for Jake. We want 8 ravioli back. Scientific, my hand kissing, robotic, listic, optimistic. Fans crusty, chilling with my man Rusty, low down.
You see, Wu-Tang Forever brought even more international acclaim and success, but their hot streak started to simmer shortly after. As I said, the classics that the Wu produced in their first round was one of the greatest sensations in the history of hip-hop, but their second round of solo releases fell short in the public eye, being deemed disappointing. Now, most of this can be credited to RZA's hiatus, voluntarily taking a step back from managing and producing the Wu's solo albums, focusing on his very own solo album. Now, RZA may have appeared on some tracks on the Wu's sophomore albums, but his absence was notable and a very obvious reason for the lukewarm reception of these albums. This is where Ghostface Killah comes in. Obviously, Ghost had a huge part in the Wu's albums and starred in Raekwon's Only Built for Cuban Links, but the audience was still not sure whether Ghost had the star power to carry his own solo work. Well, Iron Man was a smash hit, and Ghost proved himself to be the most dynamic member of the whole clan. Tracks like All That I Got Is You showing off Ghost's talent to the entire world. Sorry for interrupting, but please don't forget to leave a like. It helps out more than you'll ever know. Now, back on with the show. Now, Ghost is a lifelong diabetic, and in the wake of Iron Man's release, decided to venture out to West Africa, mainly Benin, to seek out new healing methods to cope with his high blood pressure. But while he was out there, he found a spiritual and cultural awakening. Ghost became fascinated by the true wealth of happiness found in that village, and has changed his opinion on the world around him. You see, this remote village, with no running water and only one TV, was the nucleus that spawned Supreme Clientele.
We at the weed gate waiting for Jake. We want 8 ravioli.
Like something straight out of a movie, Tony Stark flees to a village in West Africa to treat his diabetes, only to have an existential paradox and find the crazy vision to come back and deliver one of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time. 2 years after his departure, Ghost returns with an instant impact on the front cover of the Source magazine, declaring what his time away had taught him. Fuck all this Tommy Hilfiger, Polo, all this shit. They don't give a fuck about none of that over here. Everything is the same. They might be fucked up, money-wise, but trust me, them motherfuckers is happy. But Stark's legal trouble would eventually catch up to him. You see, Ghost was facing up to 15 years in prison if convicted of an assault and robbery stemming back to 1995. In 97 he was arrested in Harlem for weapons possession and after a traffic violation. Then the album was delayed indefinitely in 1999 after the rapper took a plea deal to serve a sentence of 6 months due to the incident back in 1995. But he got out 2 months early and got right back to work. This was the first Wu album to have that classic RZA touch since Wu-Tang Forever back in 1997. RZA was missing, but came back for Supreme Clientele alongside his brother, engineering the album and adding his touches all over the album. This period between Iron Man and Stark's sophomore record was really back and forth for Ghost. As stated, Ghost served a sentence, the Wu were being investigated by the FBI and RZA's studio was flooded. But it all worked out in the end, with Spark's spiritual awakening and the chaos surrounding him resulting in a worldwide, critically acclaimed masterpiece. In the February of the year 2000, after years of anticipation, Supreme Clientele hit the shelves.
Calvin coolers, lounging with 7 duelists. The great event is a slick, licking with 6 Rugers. Rock those big boy.
Executively produced by the RZA and Ghost himself, with other producers like Juju, Mathematics, and even Ghost Barber producing on the album. And as usual, many Wu-Tang affiliates were dotted all over the album, but this was different. Ghost had a new lease of creativity and absolutely unleashed it on this album. We are greeted with the intro, sampling Iron Man theme by Jack Airborne. Then, Ghost shatters every rule set previously in hip-hop on the track Nutmeg. Starks comes through with the wildest style stretched to the silliest lengths, stringing random rhymes together with no regard for consistency. His rhymes spill out on the page, and it is unlike anything heard in hip-hop before. RZA and Ghost return with a big splash and invent this new sound. Instantly, you will notice the lack of materialism on this album, as Ghost's time away in Benin steered his sound away from that found on his debut Iron Man. He had a new outlook on life, and on the place he grew up in, he wanted to rap the truth, and that's what he did. Ghost continues to rip up every page in the rap rulebook on one, as he creates a vivid illustration of the hood. His new observations of poverty in the black community are sprinkled through the whole track, as Ghost takes his rapping style to a whole new level. RZA's touch of grace can be recognised instantly, as the first 2 tracks found on Supreme Clientele have something that the second round of Wu albums failed to accomplish, and that is invention. When the Wu started, they were fresh, new, and took the streets by storm, and as their sophomore albums rolled out, the lack of character was glaring. Starks and RZA injected that right back into the Wu-Tang Clan with this album. Starks touches on his run-in with the cops on Saturday night before reaching the sobering moment of Ghostini, which was written on a Miami beach in the pouring rain, and Raekwon shines as always on the track Apollo Kids. You see, what makes this album so impressive, and how this album revived the Wu, was an introduction of a whole new sonic palette. Ghost elevated his rhymes to a whole new level, and RZA threaded the needle. You see, Ghost was always a fantastic storyteller. You'd see that on Iron Man and the Purple Tape, but creates a whole new world with Supreme Clientele. Starks continues his consciousness flow on the track The Grain, and continues that on the Posse Cut Buck 50. Not only did Ghost step up his game on this album, but so did all the guest features. I mean, not many songs show off the true creative depth off of this album like Malcolm, as Ghost pictures himself as the civil rights activist, Malcolm X. This album really rejuvenated the Wu-Tang Clan, and gave them a new lease of life when things were looking dark. You see, by this time, Ghost had already been shot 3 times, served multiple sentences, battled against his diabetes, and mourned the loss of his 2 brothers. On the other end, he'd slept in silk sheets in Wonderland hotels, but maybe his biggest task was saving the Wu, and he did just that. The common theme was RZA though, as he covered this album with his diamond touch, the instrumentals sounding like they're attacking Ghost, with him fighting back. Ghost took the English language and flipped it right on its head. Tidal waves of words attacking you through the speakers. I mean, this is the same man who literally said supercalifragilisticexpialidocious backwards, just to show off his verbal dexterity. It goes from comic absurdity to remembrance, from mourning to love. Not only did this album revive the Wu-Tang and took them to new heights, but it inspired and influenced so many peers in the hip hop scene, Just Blaze being one of them, but Kanye West being the most notable. Yeezus wouldn't exist without this album, it's as simple as that. Kanye admitted himself, I feel like I got my whole style from Ghostface, my whole mentality about hip hop. And even said that those soul chops he gave to Jay-Z early in his career were originally meant for Tony Starks. Supreme Clientele's impact cannot be underestimated. It's a masterpiece in which Ghost rejuvenated himself and all his peers. Arguably, Ghost would continue to go on and be the most successful solo member of the clan, but Ghost brought the attention of hip-hop fans worldwide back to the Wu-Tang Clan. In a year filled with so many great hip-hop albums, Supreme Clientele outshines the rest. Iron Man came back with a refreshed RZA and, well, saved the Wu. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed and don't forget to subscribe. This is one of my favourite albums of all time, so it just felt like a right fit to make a video on it. Let me know in the comments your favourite song. I feel like this might be the lane I go down, dissecting those classics, 90s, 2000s, even 2010s hip hop albums. Maybe that's the lane I'm gonna go in. Anyway, thank you for watching.